Good evening, folks. It's Diamond with the Oppenheimer Ranch Project and Magnetic Reversal News, bringing you a grand solar minimum update Monday, May 25th, Memorial Day 2020, around 1 p.m. Mountain Time. We have wildfires lit in Colorado, but the big story severe storms, flooding, and excessive heat make for a messy Memorial Day weekend. Keep calm. It's boom time. Tornadoes reportedly touched down in Rock and Grant counties in Wisconsin. I didn't even know there were tornadoes in Wisconsin. Dane County is on tornado watch through 8 p.m. Saturday evening. That's over. Tornadoes reportedly touched down in Grant and Rock counties on Saturday, with the National Weather Service issuing tornado warnings near Janesville. And that is just the tippy touch. On Friday, there were tornadoes on Saturday. Oh, this is Texas. Bowie, Texas, clean up after an EF1 to kick off the weekend, and several tornadoes being reported on Saturday in Iowa. Here in EF1, and that was in Solon, Iowa. Another EF1 here in Mechanicsville, and an EFU. Well, FU2. That was, well, can we even speak about that? That was somewhere out here, north of Andrew, whoever he is. So we have some extreme weather, as predicted many in spring. And now a tropical wave bringing soaking rain to central and southern Florida. Orlando expected to get 2 to 4 inches over the next couple of days. And this system is going to linger there, go out into the Atlantic there, and potentially could be the next tropical system for the East Coast. According to the National Weather Service, a disturbance that could potentially become a second tropical system of the year will first dump inches of heavy rain in South Florida through Memorial Day. This disturbance began to move across western Cuba into Florida Straits on Sunday, spreading showers and thunderstorms across the southern part of the Florida Peninsula. And here you can see those heavy bands near Miami, Golden Gate Estates, and Cape Coral. Good news is that this area is in extreme drought, the southern west coast. And I'll just show you that drought map here. From Fort Myers south, this could eliminate the drought, and that's good news. But here is the potential development area through Thursday. And so Charleston to Wilmington, heads up for a potential tropical system to hit later in the week. Pikes Peak covered in snow as Memorial Day weekend storm hits Colorado. And not just Pikes Peak. Many of the towns up there that I just drove through to go get the bees also covered in snow. Here we see a rollover on South Highway 285. And there are pictures of the snow happening late May. Take a look. Top of Pikes Peak. Looks like whiteout conditions. And we can come over to the snowfall analyzer, and you can see that little Pikes Peak area is barely not even on the map here. A little bit of light blue, but heavy snow over the last several days. In Wyoming, 2 feet. Northern Nevada, we've got 18 inches. Nice pocket of 18. Over here in Oregon. Geez, who would have thought? Oregon, the big winner. Well, for the most widespread snow, I would say Idaho. And they're going to have an epic river rafting season up there. Now, how can La Nina impact Colorado's weather? The same way it impacts everyone else's weather. It is looking more and more probable that we will have a La Nina forming here, which will potentially mean heavy snow. Wow, that's not going to really blow up for us, is it? That will not be helpful. Well, La Nina basically means increasing precipitation for the northwest, which will basically maintain this pattern moving forward into next fall and into the winter. Heavy snow forecast for most of the northwest in a La Nina pattern. Also colder conditions. And odds are increasing of a La Nina later this year, which could have a significant influence on northern Colorado winter. Which is important because wildfire is the biggest danger in the areas I live. Cherry Canyon fire in southeast Colorado grows to 11,000 acres with just 30% containment over the weekend. And it's just one of many fires in the region, including the 466 fire here, burning 15 miles northeast of Cherry Canyon, grew to 120 acres with no containment on Saturday. So we have no rain in sight for the areas I am. It hasn't rained in weeks. and we've got fires burning on the ground, and that's going to lead to reduced air quality for people in those regions. Thunderstorms, heavy rain, and heat in the Memorial Day forecast. Wow, look at that map. Windy in the southwest. Strong to severe thunderstorms and heavy rain with possible flash flooding are expected from Texas to the upper Mississippi Valley on Memorial Day. Also, a soaking rain with flooding expected across south central Florida. Meanwhile, a week of record-breaking heat is going to get started across California in the southwest and the Great Basin. As excessive heat warnings stretch across the region, click on your county for watches and warnings in your area if you're scared. Measuring the giant Texas hailstone. I dedicated a whole 5-minute podcast to this stone, and the official numbers are in 5.33 inches. And there's another picture of that, not the record-breaking hail, but just another hailstone a kid found. Now this is, well, that's a deadly hailstone, to say the least. That one, a little bit more deadly. And if we come over to check the GFS models, we still have snow forecast in the first week of June for the Sierras and other mountainous areas, including central Nevada. So we're going to keep a close eye on this snow system moving in for the first week of June in the Sierras. Western Australia hit by a once-in-a-decade storm. Look at that. That tree went right through the car, causing immense damage across the state. Western Australia has been battered by a massive storm which ripped roofs off houses, down trees across a 1,000-kilometer, 620-mile stretch of land. More than 60,000 homes were without power Monday, most of the main city, Perth. No injuries reported, officials said. I guess no one was in the backseat of that car. Authorities had warned residents to prepare for a once-in-a-decade storm, and what they actually got was once in a lifetime, once in a century or more. Brisbane shivered through the coldest May day in almost a century over Queensland towns, smashed records. Mackie smashed the record for the coldest May day, 113 years with 15.6 degrees C. Charters Towers, 11.5 C, and Gindom, 14 C, had their coldest day in 127 years. Bundaberg with 13.2 C had its coldest May day in 129 years. Meanwhile, Brisbane CDC main shopping precinct, the Queen Street Mall, was also a sea of scarves and beanies on Saturday as the city shivered through the coldest May day in almost 100 years. And on and on. Come read the article. It's a big boomer. And that is a cold one. And the reason is quite obvious. You are at the least amount of solar activity in 100 years. And this solar minimum of cycle 24 began when we started the channel here, right before 2018 began, and we've been getting deeper and deeper since we began. Now, in the broad scheme of things, you are here still at the bottom of cycle 24, waiting to come up into cycle 25. There is a small probability that that cycle will never develop. What that means is we'll continue to drop and drop and drop for years to come. But that's never happened before. There have been long solar minimums, like back here, 14, 15. Look at that long stretch, over a year. And we may be in a similar long stretch before we kick up into 25, sometime later this year or in 2021. But you should glean that cycle 24 is very similar to 16. And lots of the records we're breaking go back 100 years here, similar to cycle 14. It's my prediction that cycle 25 will mimic 14 here, or 12, or 11, something in a similar pattern. But yet, the watts per square meter here is going to be much lower, which means big effects. Another big effect with solar minimums, or grand solar minimums, is the increased risk of pandemic influenza outbreak. Here's a graph showing influenza A pandemic and epidemic outbreaks versus sunspot numbers, and you can see a clear correlation, especially at the minimums. They almost all have an epidemic outbreak at the minimum. And that, well, I'll leave you links to the article, and you can do your own homework on what's happening. We are now down at this low. Here's the H1N1, and now we're at the COVID-19 dot. Totally predictable. What else is predictable? Protests over food shortages after you starve the population. Now that's coming to a country near you, maybe the one you live in. And this is a sign of the times. Will this be your neighborhood in the coming months? It's possible. Depends on where you live. Depends on if there will be food shortages, which there will be. So it all depends. Are you growing your own food? This is the only way to hedge your bet of what's coming. And in the long term, food supply is going to dwindle over the coming years and decades and may just stop being brought to market. It's anyone's guess how this will unroll. But we do know from historical past that large swaths of the population starved to death during grand minimas. And that's a fact. So, do you want to be part of this crowd or do you want to be part of this crowd? The choice is yours. Proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. Well, during the times we're living. Hope you got something out of the video. Share this with like-minded people. Thank you to all of our new Patreons getting involved amidst a pandemic or plandemic. Each and every one of you are one-time donors. Steffers J, I don't know your email, but the seeds are on the way. Be safe. We love you. And that's boom.